Hi, I'm Linda Stone. I'm the owner of City Flowers in New Buffalo, Michigan, and today I'm going to show you an easy way to vase a dozen roses. Sometimes you get these flowers and you put them in a vase and they're all leaning or crooked and you don't know how to get them to stand up right. So I'm going to teach you how to do that today. So if you're new to my videos, thank you for finding us. If you've been here before, a bigger thank you for coming back. So I'll get started here. I've already got water in my vase and it has floral food in it. Floral Life packets that you can just get at the grocery store. There's a dime a dozen other remedies on Google, sugar water, bleach, all different kinds of things, even from putting like a penny in the vase to all different things. So you can, if you don't have floral food, you can research and try some of those methods. Some of them may work, but as a florist, I'm conditioned to using the Floral Life, so that's what I have in my vase here. So I've already done that, and I'm going to show you with tape how to make a grid on the top. So this is a floral product, an Oasis product. It's called clear 1/2-inch tape, and I'm just going to tape a little grid over the top of this vase here. You can do this before you put your water in it if you prefer to. I just did it and then dried the edge of my vase off so it wasn't wet. If you do it the other way, you might want to use a funnel to direct your water into the vase so you're not spilling it all over. So I'm just going to do this little grid. If you don't have this tape, you probably could get by using Scotch tape if you have the stuff that's not real wide. And then I'm going to go right at the edge all the way around the outside of the vase. This is just to secure the ends so that as I'm putting my flowers in there, they don't pop off. So I went just a little bit over one time all the way around, cut that, and if you can see what that looks like now on the top, that little grid. So that's where we're gonna start. I have my roses for the most part cleaned. That's a floral term for dethorning and taking off any petals that have bruises or anything on them. So I left one here so I could show you. To dethorn, sometimes I can just take my fingers and just snap the thorns off, and I have a wastebasket right here by me, which is helpful. If they're stubborn and they don't want to come off that way, then you can just use your scissors or a knife and snap them off. But it's best to take them off. You don't want these all down in your vase. Number one, you don't want them in the water. And if the thorn pokes your tape, it'll cut your tape. So you don't want that happening either. And then sometimes when the roses first come in, they have little bruises on the outer petals. And I had a broken one here when I was getting these ready to do this. So I just threw them on the table. You can scatter them around and it just makes a pretty little accent. Okay, so now I'm going to determine what height I want this to be. One of the rules of thumb for floral design is that you want to go 1 to 1.5 times the height of your container to make it look in proportion. So for this particular arrangement, I wouldn't want to cut my roses way down here. It would be more vase than flower. So I'm going to cut them, and we're going to start in the center with the tallest one. So I'm going to cut, and I'm measuring against the edge of the table from where the bottom of the vase is, cutting them at an angle so that they take up water better. And I'm just going to put it in one of the holes in my grid that I've made. Now, if you think that you want it a little taller, you can always go, I might go just one more taller and insert. You just can't, once you cut them, you can't, make them taller that way. But if you decide that you want to make the arrangement taller, so work from the center and then kind of just poking them in around. I'm going to kind of go in a little circular manner here with these. Put that one there. And they don't all have to be exactly the same height. In fact, I don't really like mine like that. I like them a little bit more asymmetrical and more natural looking. And sometimes even with the roses, I will put them in, and then at the end, I don't like the way one faces or something, so I pull it out, and it's okay. It's a little more tricky to pull it out when you're working with floral foam, but in the vase, there's no problem to just pull it out and reposition it where you want it. I'm gonna just throw some of these away. Every flower does have a face. As you can see, this one actually grew facing that way. It was trying to get to the sunlight. This is the back side of that. So keep that in mind when you're putting them in your vase, which way they naturally face, because that's how you'd want them to go in your arrangement. Couple more here. When you're buying flowers, always look for kind of tight buds on things, and if you're picking up stuff that the foliage is all dropping off of, that is a sign that your flowers either have been out of water too long or they're just not a fresh product. So kind of a couple tips to just keep in mind there. And this one I am going to move and just cut down slightly. I didn't quite like the positioning of that one when I got them all in there. Okay, so again, I can move them around now if I'm not happy with the way that they are. I want a different one. I don't like this guy right here. He's a little bit too short for that particular spot. So we're gonna, and roses are one of the more difficult things to actually vase and get them to look in balance sometimes, because the stems all grow different ways, and I think this is a pretty good side for our front. Okay, so now I'm going to put in some of my greens. I'm going to throw this away. I like to just have a wastebasket binding, clean up as I go. And I'm using, this is a green called boxwood. Many people just have this right in their yard. This boxwood, it does have a tough little stem on it. You can cut that. And if it has short laterals on the bottom, you just want to strip those off. You can always save these laterals, and if they're not too short, and use like the pieces like this and something small. Just put them in a baggie, mist them down a little bit with some water, and you can save them for probably a couple weeks. So if you wanted to do a centerpiece in foam or something like that, you could use those small pieces there. I'm going to put in, this is a big chunky piece of boxwood, so I'm going to cut the longer laterals out of this. I'm just going to cut one here and then strip these lower ones off and insert that. And then this other one here, I'll take these little pieces off. I'm going to cut that above that little knuckle right there. And we'll put this piece on this side. So that gave us a good green foundation there. Okay, now I've got a little bit more of this, which I may go back and add later. But to make it interesting, I like to use more than one piece of, or one type of foliage. So I'm going to also use, this is called leatherleaf, or a lot of people just call it fern, florist fern. So I'm going to cut these, and I kind of want to just collar the base with the fern around the outside. This gives it a natural flow. The boxwood is upright. The fern, when you put it in, will flow out to the side. Because the last thing that you want to do is have everything going straight up. And roses typically do that. That's how they grow, and when you vase them, they're all gonna, you don't have too many. Whoops, I have some little dark tips on that piece, which I didn't see. We won't use that one. This is a all occasion. You can do this for birthdays, anniversaries, just because you like roses. The red looks great for holiday, which it is December here, so I'm kind of got my holiday decorations up. And I'm going to use these two little lateral pieces here. Okay, now if I would like to add a little bit more of my boxwood, I'm going to cut some of that shorter and put it low as well. And I realize that this is hard for you to see as I'm doing it. I should be doing it this way so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, that kind of fills the vase out a little bit more. And even when you put the foliage in, sometimes you're going to hit your rose stems. So sometimes you have to go back and just readjust a little bit how you want them when you're all done. Okay, this is a white filler called Caspia. The most common one that florists use with roses is baby's breath, which you can use that one too. I just thought I would show you a different one. This one's a little bit more fine and delicate. And I like it. It's just a little bit more wispy and natural, not quite as heavy as the baby's breath. You can put some pieces low, use some short laterals, and then just cut your taller ones. Strip everything off and put those in the center. I want to keep it light, so we're not going to add a ton of this. We want the roses to be the focal point. The greenery looks like the way they naturally grow because they grow with leaves and greenery on them. So the greenery is the accent, and then the filler is just to accent both of those. So we don't really want to get a lot of filler in here. Just a little bit to bring your eye to a different texture is what we're going for with the filler. And I almost have enough of that in here. I'm going to move it and put it right there in the front. Sometimes you have to make sure that everything is poking into the vase as you're doing this. Okay, so I think this looks pretty good. Again, we can adjust our roses a little bit if you want to move some or move something in over. The foam arrangements are much more challenging to keep moving things, but as long as it's in a vase of water, you can just pull it out. I'm going to just put this last little piece right here. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how to make a bow for these. Let me move this back over here in the center. I did this in one of my other videos, but if you missed that one, I'll show you this time. Some people like ribbons, and you could just tie the ribbon around the vase for a simple bow. You could just do that, but I'm going to show you how to make an actual florist bow here. It's hard to determine how much ribbon you're going to use, so I just use it off the bolt. So I want to make how long my end is going to be, determine how long I want my tail, and then start my first loop there. So you're going to crimp that with your fingers, twist the ribbon, and I'm using one that has a little wired edge. That is easier than using something floppy. Your ribbon will hold shape, and you can move it around a little bit better. So I'm just grabbing this between my fingers as I make these loops, and then switch, twist, make your loop, grab between your fingers, twist for the other side. And I'm going to do 3 on each side, which I have here. And then I want to cut this tail. I can go back and always recut it. And then this is the tricky part. As I'm holding this, I have a wired pick, but you can do this with just wire too. And you can get these picks at craft stores. I'm going to have that little hole through my hand, and I'm going to insert that pick through there. I'm going to take the wire and go around the ribbon And just push all this up together. Just scrunch it together. Twist this wire tightly around it. And then wrap your pick. Now the end of the wire, this piece you have left, just wrap it around the wood. And then we're ready to just insert this into the edge of the vase. And then you can just rearrange your loops and your tails how you like them. And if you decide you want to cut off a little more for your tails, make them shorter. So we have a nice holiday gift or birthday, anniversary. It would serve for any occasion that you wanted to use it for. And you could do mixed colors, you can do different greens. The options are endless, but I just wanted to teach you today the technique of how to do it so that they're not all flopping to one side in the vase. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something from it, and I hope you'll come back for my next one. Thank you.